And the old nations of the West were seduced by the dark side. One by one, they fell to the sway of the banks and the wicked social engineers, the pitchmen, the psychiatrists, the sociologists that waged war on the minds of the mass. And the family fell. The farms, the ranches, any form of independence was reduced to slag. The mind war rolled on. Would the public wake themselves from the trance? Or would they be pushed inexorably towards the cliff to ever fall into total dehumanization? All of the tyranny that we have witnessed so far is only the preparation for the great feast of devils, of the vampires of the New World Order against you, free humanity. Monday through Friday, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're here live. And back Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the huge announcement. It's just so important. So many things clicked when I saw this last night. Things I'd already known, things I'd talked about many, many times but never articulated fully. Things I'd thought about a million times. Everything you'd thought about, too. We're all thinking the same thing here, that we're in way over our heads. But we don't have a choice but to fight on. Corporate media, cyber-bullying propaganda. I'm going to get into that. Round up hate speech promoters. This is being announced all over national news. They're just saying arrest anybody that criticizes the government. And of the 3 or 4 names they throw around, guess who is in the mix? Alex Jones. I don't agree with the classic people that are singled out for hate crime and hate speech and thought crime and pre-crime. But I've also been very careful not to step on those landmines as well, because I don't want to be associated with the nest of government operatives and their foolish cohorts who don't know they're being led along to the slaughter. And so J.P. Morgan takes the trillions of dollars pumped in the brokerage firms and private banks. They take your tax money and they put it in to oil and other commodities. They hoard it, but drives up the price. You pay for it with your tax money. And then it's another indirect tax to them in that you will pay more in the gas that they've speculated and driven up. And then they'll dump it on the market after bidding it up and make even bigger profits. And that's just one little way they rape us in this rigged fake economy. This is not free market and it's not socialism. It's a pirate economy. It's a predator economy. It's a joke economy. North Korea is threatening to nuke South Korea or Japan if anyone stops their ships. This is as great an escalation as the Cuban Missile Crisis. Hillary Clinton says they're going to start boarding the North Korean ships. The White House says China is behind it and supports it. But when you actually read what the Chinese ambassador to the UN has said, he said, do not attack and do not engage in provocation with the North Koreans. And they've also told the North Koreans to not engage in provocations. So more lies by the media. China does not support what's going on. And the average dumbed-down person out there who's tuning in for the first time, a mainline liberal or a mainline fake conservative, will think, oh, what, are you for North Korea? No, I'm not for North Korea. I'm not for Donald Rumsfeld in the mid-1990s as the chairman of ABB, the Swiss nuke company, transferring the nuclear reactors to North Korea so they could build their atomic weapons. Right as Kim Jong-il's about to transfer power to his son, dying of cancer, dying of multiple strokes, now admitting he's on death's doorstep, probably be dead in the next year, unless he can hang on by his fingernails with, like Fidel Castro. It's amazing what you can do with government medical care at the highest levels, with top physicians attending to you. Right when his 20-something-year-old punk son is about to get power, right when the state is its most dangerous and volatile, they say they're going to start searching their ships for WMDs or any weapons, artillery, machine guns. They say you can't sell that to anybody when it's the only export they've got to buy the fuel oil and grain, so their inner party can still pig out on Colby beef, and so their population, millions of which have died in the last decade of starvation, can have some chance of living. I don't want to hear about how we got to have World War III with North Korea because they might be shipping out artillery. Give me a break. When the New World Order gave them the frickin' nukes. Now stick that in your fake conservative. You think it's manly to be a warmonger when you can't even find the stupid country on a map. You think driving around and flexing your muscles and wearing shirts with big skulls on it and black bandanas is tough. But you won't learn about the Bill of Rights and Constitution, how our nation's been hijacked by foreign bankers who are trying to start World War III. And I'm not knocking somebody with big muscles wearing black T-shirts with skulls and bandanas on their heads. Just everywhere I go, I see those type guys. At Academy, when I was buying some ammo last night, or when I ran into a cafeteria, I saw these big warrior-type men everywhere. Some guy with giant muscles, black bandana, big black shirt with a skull on it in there with his wife and kids. And I guarantee you that guy'd urinate all over his leg if the cops pulled him over and told him to get on the ground. I guarantee you that guy hidden down at the legislature trying to fight bills where the government can kidnap his children without even having a Fourth Amendment or a judge's order. And I just want to ask you, if you're such a man outside of watching ice truckers and playing with yourself, why don't you stand up and be a real man? Why don't you stand up and defend the republic as it's falling, instead of having some vague thing about Apache helicopters shooting Hellfire missiles into brown people's houses? That's your idea of manhood, just some vague idea of aircraft carriers and missile cruisers launching tomahawks down people's chimneys. That isn't manhood, jackass. Manhood is taking care of your family and the country where you live. You understand a scientific dictatorship is taking over all the farms and ranches? They're seizing all the major industries. They're shutting the United States off like you take an old man off life support. Get your head in gear. Get your guts in gear and get your brain in gear. And all you guys in your cowboy hats strutting around your Wranglers acting tough. I mean, I sit there watching men of America strut around like peacocks, bugging their eyes out at people, bugging their eyes out at some, little old man or something walking to the bathroom in a restaurant, but you won't stand up for the Bill of Rights and Constitution. You'll stick American flags made in China by Chinese slaves all over your car. You like the idea of freedom, but your idea of freedom is tyranny. Where are the men? They had the Rot rally here in Austin, and you couldn't hardly go anywhere this Friday, Saturday, Sunday because of people driving around, bugging their eyes out at people, acting tough on motorcycles. And I'm not saying you're bad to want to be on a motorcycle. I've had motorcycles, like motorcycles, back when I was young and didn't care about dying before I found out I wasn't bulletproof. And I know it's fun to wear skull shirts. I know it's fun to drive around acting tough and putting on the trappings of a modern-day pirate. That's what you do. And wearing the Iron Cross. You don't know anything about the stench of dead children, but it will soon be in your nostrils if you continue to conjure hell and death. You hear the howl and the grind of the gears of death, and you think it makes a beautiful sound from far away. And it does have a black majesty, a dark majesty, like the smokestacks of Hades. You grasp at the darkness because you are weak, and because subconsciously you fear it. So you think by embracing it, it gives you power over it. You have no power over darkness. In darkness, the only power over darkness is the light.